Mr. President, I want to make a couple of comments. This is going to be a very significant week. We know pretty much what we're going to be doing with the Defense Authorization Bill, which I believed, and most people believe, is the most significant bill each year. And we have things that need to be done. We came to a great agreement prior to the 4th of July. And in terms of the numbers of amendments and the things that we had to get accomplished, and I think there's total agreement with that. We had a tragedy that took place during the last 2 weeks that we were in recess, and one affected a friend of mine, John Lewis. We had a real interesting, the 100th Congress. We went in, I think in 1987, I think it was, and the 100th Congress had a lot of really great people. John Lewis was one. And John Lewis and I you couldn't get two guys further apart philosophically than John Lewis and me. And yet we were always close, and I watched the way how peacefully he could do things and get things done. And as someone that I got to know quite well, but we had a lot of others. You know, John Kyle has been very active just in recent years, coming back from retirement to temporarily come back and then go back. He was in that class. We had Ben Cardin. He and I became close friends at that time. I think he came out from being he's in the state legislature at first. Lamar Smith was one that was very, very helpful to me all those years. Lamar Smith was from South Texas. And Freddie Upton, as we referred to him, little Freddie Upton, he's probably the most recent one that we've had who has is no longer in that same position. But anyway, John Lewis was. And I had the honor of coming to Congress and being in the same freshman class with him. And ultimately, he was a courageous fighter in every part of his life. He fought for the civil rights movement on the bridge to Selma as a freedom rider, and through his work on the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, he did consistently a great and peaceful job. He fought for his constituents and the causes he believed in. I mean, he was a fighter. He would not take no for an answer. And up until the very end, he fought cancer. Like everything else, he fought it with courage and honor. And the conscience of Congress may no longer be here, but his legacy for selfless service has been imparted to every one of us who served with him and got to know him well. It seems like the ones who knew him the best are those of us who served over in the other body in the House. Now, this week we're going to be in the Senate resuming consideration and hopefully completing the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 21. Of course, this is not the end, it's not the completion. All this does is get it out of the Senate. Hopefully we can do that this week. And then get on. We have quite a few confirmations that we have to do in the Senate that are very timely, and we've got them all lined up where I think it's all going to work. But this National Defense Authorization Act is the one that is going to be our attention for quite a while after today. Of course, the House has to do theirs. Then we go into conference and have a conference between the House and the Senate, which we will do and participate in. Then, as normally is the case, it goes to the Big Four. And the Big Four are the two leaders from the House, 2 leaders from the Senate. I've been in the Big Four, I think, 4 years in the past. And it ends up getting done. I mean, anytime a bill has passed for 59 years, you know it's going to pass, which is one of the problems. Because everybody says, well, that's going to pass, and therefore let's go ahead and load on anything that I had that have not been able to get passed before, because you know that bill is going to get passed. So we have a lot of that going on. We've been through that. We've had many, many amendments on this, and I think that we all are reflecting on the true meaning of Independence Day, and no bill is more important to protecting our freedoms than the National Defense Authorization Act. And how do I know that? There's a document that not many people read anymore. It's called the Constitution. And that tells us what we're supposed to be what we're supposed to be doing here, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, primarily defending America. And I want to highlight the work that the bipartisan comprehensive nature of the legislation. We've already adopted over 140 bipartisan amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act. One of the reasons for this is that we had an experience last year, and we've had it in the past, where one member wants to get his or her amendment adopted, but they don't want to take it, they don't want to have, they will use the leverage that they can have, and that is to object to any other amendments coming up. Well, we thought in the event that that happened again, we would put every amendment we could put on there. We solicited amendments to come from members. They came, and the number is now 140 bipartisan amendments. And that's equally divided between, I mean, I have to say that the group, John Bonzo and Liz, they did a great job in making this a bipartisan bill. And so we actually had the same number of amendments on each side. And those numbers don't even include the hundreds of amendments considered in markup or member interest provisions we worked that were included in the base text. That amount was about 90 amendments. So this bill truly was written by the members, the Democrats and Republicans in both the House and the Senate. It's my hope that Senator Reid's hope, he agrees with me, that we clear another manager's package if possible. And speaking of Senator Reid, I have to say that there's not a committee out there that enjoys more bipartisan support in the Senate than this bill does. Senator Reid is, we've disagreed on some things, but we've always resolved our problems. And this week, we're also going to vote on 6 amendments. Some of those amendments I support and some I don't. But these are the amendments that we agreed to when we departed here right before the 4th of July. And regardless of my feelings on specific amendments, I want to thank my colleagues for coming together so we were able to have these amendment votes. It's been at least a few years since we've been able to vote on this many amendments on the floor. Now, what we need to have right now, and I know that members aren't in here now, but their staff is watching, and their staff needs to know that we need members to come down and present their amendments. And to speak on amendments. We got 6 amendments that are all lined up. There are ones that there are a lot of members of the Senate who want to be heard. But if you're not down here, you're not going to be heard, because we're going to do, we're planning on doing 6 of those, or probably 4 of those tomorrow, and then a couple the next day. But then that's going to be essentially the end of it. So I don't want them to come and complain to us saying that they want to be heard on amendments. This is your opportunity to do that. It's the important thing is that we are doing it now. We're coming together to get this must-pass bill done. Things can get petty and divisive around here sometimes, but the National Defense Authorization Act is something we always come together to do because it has to be done. It's been happening for 59 years, and it's going to happen. It's going to be 60 years in just a few days. Senator Reid and the Armed Services Committee and I, we worked hard to make this a bipartisan bill in the base text in the committee mark with amendments and with the votes. We listened to what our colleagues asked for in their member interest letters. We requested letters. This goes all the way back to January. We were requesting letters from individuals as to what their interests are going to be as the year pressed on. And so we had a bipartisan markup where we adopted over 200 amendments from both Republicans and Democrats on its own. This is a good bipartisan bill, and we're trying to make it better on the floor as we adopt or reject additional amendments, which we're going to be doing tomorrow and the next day. We're about to make 60 straight years by passing it. We don't want to jeopardize that. We saw what happened in the House last year when we tried to write, they tried to write a partisan bill, and it didn't go anywhere. I mean, everything that they wanted had nothing to do with the military. Every liberal program they had as a part of it, and nothing happened. And we remember some of those items. They wanted to restrict arms sales. They wanted to block our nuclear modernization. They wanted to block funds for the border wall and several other things. I I commend Chairman Smith for returning to the bipartisanship that has long been the tradition of the Armed Services Committees on both sides of the Capitol. The House is taking up their bill on the floor this week, and I wish them well. I hope they, too, block some of the worst amendments and the ones that would cut funding for our troops and hamstring the ability to defend our nation. I'm glad they are prioritizing getting this done. I'm also glad that they return to regular order, that is, considering the authorization bill before the appropriations bill. That's the order that's supposed to be done, and that's what's going to be done this time. And that's the way things should work around here. We authorize first, then we appropriate. So what we'll do is what we've done every year for the last 59 years. We will come together, the Senate and the House, Republicans and Democrats, and conference our bills. And our votes this week are the next step to this goal, and that's going to happen. There's really nothing else around here that has the 60-year success streak. The NDAA is it, and that's it. This is our sacred and profound responsibility to the 2.1 million men and women who have volunteered to serve and their families. You know, I remember when the idea of a full volunteer force was something that was not really something that ever really could be done. When I was in the military, we didn't have it. It was the days of the draft. Frankly, I think there's a lot of merit to that. It means a lot right now to the more than 700,000 civilian employees at the Department of Defense and thousands more who support our nuclear enterprise, and to all Americans that we protect them, their families, and their livelihoods. So I thank my colleagues for their contributions. I look forward to our continued debate on this important bill, the most important bill of the year. And keep in mind that this is something that we are going to get done, and the next important step this week, and I appreciate all the help and ask all members, this is your time to speak on amendments. I'll yield the floor.